Hello and welcome to the Cardiac Cats YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Shorba, and we are here to recap a Week 6 loss to the Seattle Seahawks at home for your Jacksonville Jaguars. 20-12, just not Jacksonville's day, right? I mean, we've seen throughout this year, there's been a lot of mistakes for what was a 4-1 team coming into this game. But still, this team has managed to be clutch in a lot of the big moments. They've stepped up when they've had to. And they've won a lot of games because of that type of team mentality that they have. But today, unfortunately, this really just stuck around through the whole majority of, not the majority, through the whole game, I would say. There were some moments for this team where they were successful, but overall, just not doing enough. I think if you're going to point to some stuff, I think clear and obvious things here, if we're just going off the stat sheet at least for the moment, 59 yards on the ground, right? Obviously, Seattle didn't have much success either, but they were able to have a lot of big plays through the air, and that really helped them out. We had a lot of yards too, but what did we get out of that, right? You talk about the rushing attack, 59 yards on 19 carries, not that impressive. 7 sacks for 44 yards. I think probably the biggest issue of the day, however, was for the kicking on this team, which we'll see if we can actually scroll down to it. But it's going to say 0 of 1, 0 of 1. Missed a field goal, missed an extra point. And that really changes how this game looks. And it ended up being a 5-point swing for this team. Because if it weren't for that, you probably have Jacksonville, even with how many mistakes they made today, getting an opportunity with a game-winning drive at the end of this thing. Because they would have had 17 points. You had 2 touchdowns. If you could hit your extra points, you're not going for 2 the time you miss. And you're not going to miss the field goal. So that changes the game where maybe this would have been 23-17. And you wouldn't have had the penalty because the Jaguars knew, hey, let them get the field goal. And we're going to get our opportunity. Who knows what happens from there. Probably not going to win the game, just given how they played throughout the day. But the score is a little different when you're factoring in just what the offense and defense did and what's fair there. Trevor Lawrence, well, he had a productive day. 258 yards through the air, no interceptions, 2 touchdowns. He was not all that great as far as some of the placement throughout the day. There were some throws that were just a little bit off. You didn't have receivers making big catches. And at the end of the day, that kind of cost this team. It put them in some bad situations. There's just a lot of things to point to, right? And we can assign more blame to certain things, like the kick, for example, because I think that is the number one thing here. Because if it weren't for that, even with all the mistakes, you have a chance to go win this game late, given that you don't have the penalty on the field goal, which I don't think there's much reason to get at that point. So, yeah, just a lot of things. You also had Trayvon Walker out of this game, basically. He played 15 snaps on defense, but just didn't get to do a whole lot. Still recovering, coming in slowly. And then, surprisingly, this was something you do not see that often. Josh Hines-Allen. Not really talking about the PFF grade here. It's obviously low. 0 pressures on the day. Just not his normal kind of performance. I didn't see who he was matched up on. I'm assuming Charles Cross, who's a pretty good blocker. So that could make some sense. But just a second week where he's not getting a ton of production as a pass rusher. Obviously, last week he did some things outside of that. But just didn't hear a lot of his name today. You also had Devin Lloyd, who was out for a lot of this game. That hurt the Jaguars, too. 15 snaps. Played really well during those snaps. But at the end of the day, you know, you're missing some players here. Brennan Strange, going to be out for a while. Maybe the Jaguars look to trade for a tight end for that reason. You're missing too many things. I think you have too many mistakes, and those things combine into what is ultimately a loss for this team. Now, it started out strong. You know, obviously there's some punts here, but they went up what should have been 7-0, was 6-0. Then defensively, just didn't do a whole lot. Second quarter, just kind of hurt themselves. It was really unfortunate on this drive. The first play that Greg Newsome comes into the game, first snap as a Jaguar, and he immediately gets burned by Jackson Smith and Jigba, which I was a little surprised, I guess, by JSN's speed. Not that I thought he was a slow guy. I'm actually going to look this up on the spot. I didn't think he was that fast of a receiver. I thought, yeah, he ran a 4.48. I mean, he dusted him. And I know obviously Newsom got a little behind on the play, but Newsom runs in the 4.3. So I was shocked that he got beat that way. It's not really a way I thought JSN would have won the day, but that really hurt the team, put him in a bad spot. Then you get the missed field goal, and at that point, you just can't trust your kicker, right? It's going to be interesting to see what the Jaguars do from here at that position because it's a really hard choice. Because do you move on from a kicker who really, at the end of the day, has limitless potential? Like, I don't think you can deny that. I mean, this guy kicked the longest kick in the history of the NFL, if you count preseason, regular season, postseason, by a mile, right? And it wasn't even like something that just bounced him. He hit it pretty freaking strong. So you know he has probably the strongest leg of any player that we've ever seen. The problem is accuracy, and that was a problem going back to college and why he was not the top kicker in that draft class. If he had good accuracy, this guy's going crazy enough, like third or fourth round, like Jake Moody did. And so, unfortunately, you're starting to see that problem creep in. Can you keep him, right? Because I think if you let him go, he's going to another team. I don't think you can practice squad him because someone's going to take a chance on him. So it'll be interesting to see, do the Jaguars hold on to him? Do they give him another chance next week? I think you'd want to. You also don't want to lose another game because of it, given, hey, you're probably still losing this, even if he's making those kicks. Don't want to 100% blame it on one player here because you can't really do that today. But it's interesting. What will the Jaguars do there? Really is an unknown at this point. As far as other things, not a whole ton that I would note. I think just the thing we maybe didn't talk about a whole ton, offensive line, really disappointing today. I think losing Brendan Strange hurts a little bit there too, because they have been using him a lot in protection, and he's done great for your run game. He's done great for your pass game in multiple ways. He is a very undervalued player to this team. Or how would I word that? Yeah, probably. I'd say maybe underappreciated at times, and I think today kind of helps remind you of that. Same time, the regular offensive lineman just not good enough. 7 sacks, that's really bad in this game. We will see the offensive grades here. I don't know if they've. We'll check actually the blocking grades specifically, because curious if this came down mostly to one player. They're saying Walker Little for 3 of these sacks. As far as who had, we'll see if we can figure this out. Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence would have been the guy, maybe in Wosu as well, because he'd be lining up on the outside. But yeah, surprising that with his age he's having that much success. But yeah, really rough day from Walker Little. Last thing I will note, obviously BTJ had a really rough drop towards the end of the game that stalled out a drive. Outside of that, really good performance for him. He played great today outside of that one play. Ended up having 90 yards. He had a touchdown. He had 8 receptions. He was very involved. He was the clear top guy for this offense. And we've got to see that going forward. We got to see the production there. And we know that when he is playing his best, he changes the fortune. He changes the fortune of this team. So I think that's where we're going to wrap things up. Should note the Colts won against the Cardinals. Close game there too. They did pull it out. It is noteworthy that Indianapolis, as far as their schedule, things are going to get tougher here soon. And that might change the fortunes of their season a little bit. But with that said, if you're not taking the Colts seriously at this point, I think you're being ignorant. I mean, they're 5-1. They have looked great in a lot of these games. Daniel Jones has looked really good. Obviously, hate to say these things, but they have done a great job this year, and Jacksonville's just got to try to keep up right now and then hope that maybe when they get some of these easier games later in the year that they can take the lead in the division and win it. But this is by no means an easy route for the Jaguars to take the AFC South. They're going to have to win a lot of games to do it this year. So we'll end that off there. We'll see how the rest of the division games go. Tennessee and Houston have not played yet today. I think, I don't know if Houston's on bye this week, but they have not played their game if they have one. So we'll wrap things up there, though. I appreciate y'all watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on this one. Would definitely love to hear it. Just a rough week, but at the end of the day, this team is 4-2 in year one of Liam Cohen. And so I appreciate that. I'm pretty happy with that. No part of me expected them to have this good of a record at this point in the year, even after the loss today. Doesn't mean we're going to settle, but I am still very happy with how this team's performed this year, especially knowing there's a lot of things they can improve. Shout out to our channel members, Gator John Bites, Ichi Wiener, the FTX Smoke Eater, Mr. Dolphin, Brian Foster, and Frangies. Thank you all for supporting this channel. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll make sure to get right back to you as soon as I can. And we'll have more content either next weekend or throughout the week. Might have some trades coming up in the coming weeks too. There's been some hints at that on top of the Greg Newsome, Tyson Campbell swap. So we'll see what happens. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And finally, go Jags.